Today, we're looking at Aurora Black. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. There's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I would appreciate you if you check out the entire video. You can follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen ink reviews, I would remind you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Jinhao 51A, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. This first writing sample is done on a standardized set of paper of Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia. There are additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Now, let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine gives the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 13 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any color variation. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 21 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 34 seconds to dry. It's a little while, but you know, it's not a bad black. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. Rhodia, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. It took 15 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 22 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is one of the reasons that this is such a dark black. It's not black. It's a green and purple. You see this green at the bottom that starts pushing its way up, and then we get the purple at the top. Now, in order to mix truly dark blacks in paint, you don't use black. You use other colors and mix them. It makes that black feel so deep you could fall into it. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. The most noticeable difference you see is that with only 10 minutes, that green really did bond with that filter paper and didn't budge a whole lot. Some of the green, yes, pushed up, but a lot of it stayed below in that line. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this in a note-taking situation. It is getting blown out and unreadable. And it's only one word. Now, when we look at the water, we see that it does start to lift some of the darkest areas of the ink, but it's really not totally doing it. Now, pen flush, it sort of spread and went down the right side of this smear. And you do see areas where the white of the paper is starting to come through, which makes me say that pen flush is all that you should need to get this out of your pen. The 1/3 bleach solution did completely eliminate it. I just don't think you're going to need to use a bleach solution to get this out of your pen. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link down below in a description or in a card. Now, for the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Aurora Black has a viscosity of 2.13, making it normal, which is surprising for what you hear about with this ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Aurora Black has an average dry time of 20 seconds, which is the high side of normal, but still normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Aurora Black, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I wanted to go with a really nice magenta, something that would help stand out because this is such a dark black. And I chose Colorverse Andromida because I love the movie Andromeda Strain, and I'm a huge fan of the fact that Colorverse names so many of their inks after great movies. The second writing sample is done on Levenger, P. Berger, and White Lines paper. Here we get to see how the Aurora Black does on Levenger paper. It has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, and the extra fine comes in at the same tone as the stub. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, only 8 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. P. Berger. It's a French rule student paper. Now, the extra fine at the top did much better than the medium at the bottom. The medium had a lot of bleed through, and it has a lot of show through or ghosting because of it. So with the extra fine, you could likely use the back of the page. Luckily, these bleed spots did not touch the page underneath. The 1.1 stub has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 4 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. But what's interesting is, while these are consistent here, they are definitely lighter than what we got with other papers like the Levenger. And our last paper is White Lines, which is not meant to be fountain pen friendly, but it is useful for note takers. Now, the extra fine, it did very well when it comes to bleed. It had none. The medium, it didn't really bleed, but it has a lot of show through where that ink got deep into the paper. So the medium gives a lot of, I'll call it the ghosting for it, just because a lot comes through. And the extra fine, it does very well. Now, the stub has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine, again, same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Aurora Black? This is a nice, solid black ink. No shading. Don't want it. Not in a black. And it even made writing with the Jinhao 51A feel a little bit smoother, so that flow is pretty good. What pen and nib would best give you the writing experience? Look, dealer's choice here. This ink is so consistent, it doesn't matter what pen you put it into, you're going to have a nice writing experience. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.